solving a triangle with the law of cosines. So not a right triangle. I'll start to say right triangle. So this is another example of when we can solve triangles that don't have a right angle. So we learned law of sines, which you can see over here in my notepad. So now we're going to learn law. Oh, I'm going to switch this over. Still have it on eraser here. So now we're going to learn law of cosines. So we have our law of sines, which we did on our last video here, and this was if you have to have three pieces of a triangle in order to make this work, and they have to be three pieces that correspond to each other. So you either have to have two sides and one angle, and one of the angles has to be across from one of the sides you have, or you have to have two angles and one side. Again, one of the sides has to be across from one of the angles you have. So they have to correspond to each other. So we can do the same type of thing with the law of cosines. So I'm going to scroll down here. So we have three instances for the law of cosines. A squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2b times c times the cosine of a. So if you notice, this looks a lot like Pythagorean theorem, except we usually say a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So in this case, if I have angle A, or if I'm looking for angle A, this is the one that I'm going to use. And this is, so if you have one angle and two sides, but you don't have the side that's opposite angle A, you have B and C instead. So I can find A. Or if I do have A and I have one of these sides, so actually it depends. This would be more if we're looking for either side A or angle A in this case. If we're looking for an angle, we can use most of these instances, but the next one would be b squared. So now instead of this was a squared and then b squared and c squared, now I have a squared and c squared. So b and a switch places, and then you can guess over here, so I'm going to have 2ac cosine. And since I started with a on this one, it was cosine A. This one's going to be cosine B. So there is definitely a pattern. So then we go c squared, and we have a squared plus b squared. So this actually looks just like Pythagorean theorem, but now we have to subtract 2 times a times b times the cosine of angle C. All right, so it just depends on which sides were given and what angles were given. So in this case, they don't correspond as nicely as they do with the law of sines. So what we're going to do is plug these in. And again, A, B, C, it just has to do with the sides. So angle A is opposite side A. Angle B is opposite side B. Angle C is opposite side C. So that's what A, B, and C mean in these equations. So I'm going to actually go ahead and start this so that we can go ahead and test one of these out. I'm going to turn my pen on this side. Okay, so let's go ahead and label the triangle here. Put my pen down. So side A is 57, side B is 63, and side C is 70. So I'm given all the sides, and they want me to solve all the angles. So they want me to solve all the angles because I'm given all the sides. So we're going to go through, and we are going to do this a couple of times. It's going to take us just a minute here to get through this. So let's go ahead and start filling this in. So let's start with angle A. Why not? So we have a squared. So we're just going to go here. We have 57 squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2 times 63 times c, which is 70, times the cosine of A. Sorry, I started to go up here because I was going on my tools. All right, so we actually immediately want to start going over here to our calculator because we need to start maybe moving stuff around here just so I can have room. So we have 57. I did this little button for the squared, so it gives me that little box, and I put a square in there, equals All right, so I'm going to go back here and I'm going to record that. So 3,249 equals, all right, so now I'm going to go back, and we can actually put quite a few things in here. So I can do 63 squared, and I'm going to do these in pieces just so that we can see them. So we have 3,969 plus 70 squared is 4,900. 4,900. I'm trying to squeeze this in here because I'm going to end up running out of room again. All right, so we have 2 times 63 times 70 equals, and we get 8,820 times the cosine of A. So now I can add some like terms together. I can't do anything with this 8,870 yet. It's being multiplied. So we have to remember our rules of our order of operation. I can combine all the thousands here, but I can't do anything with that 8,000 yet. So I have 3,969 plus 4,900, and that's going to equal 8,869, which equals 3,420, minus 8,800. Oh, darn it. Was that a 70 or was that a 20? Oh, come back over here. I'm going to do this again. 2 times 63 times 70. So need to write a little bit neater. That was a 20. So I was going to start writing that as a 70. So that would have messed up my whole calculation. So that looked like a 7 when I wrote it down. All right, times the cosine of A. Okay, so now I want to bring this 8,869 over to this side. So we're trying to get cosine of A all by itself. So now we have 3,249 minus 8,869 equals, so we get negative 5,620 equals negative. So remember, these cancel. These are the same number, even though they're large numbers. 8,869 minus 8,869 is 0. So I'm just going to bring this negative 8,820 cosine of A straight down, and I'm going to divide by negative 8,820 so I can get cosine by itself. Like that. So I'm going to divide by negative 820 equals, all right. So I end up with this nice long decimal here. And I'm going to just write a little bit down. Dot, 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 dot. So I'm putting my dots in. All right. Again, these two numbers, even though they're large, they cancel. Any number divided by itself becomes 1. So I just have the cosine of A. So remember, when you don't have an angle, what that means you need to do in your calculator is hit the arc sign. So I don't want to hit cosine of this number. I want to hit arc sign. And then, because it was highlighted, it inserted it correctly, and I hit equals. So I get 50.417 equals angle A. I'm just going to put A like that. All right. And they want us to round to the nearest tenth. So let's go back here really quick and make sure. So if we're rounding to a tenth, that's 4. 1 is smaller than, or 4 or smaller. So we're going to leave it as 50.4. So we have 50.4. All right. So that was one time. We get to do this 2 more times. Or we get to do this actually 1 more time. And then I'll show you the third angle is actually a little bit easier. Let me increase this, and I'm going to erase. No, come on, erase, 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 erase. All right, and I erased part of my numbers here. Okay, so now let's go ahead and find angle B. So we're going to say B squared, so 63 squared equals A squared plus C squared minus 2 times A times C times the cosine of angle B. All right, so let's go ahead and go back to our calculator here because we need to start calculating things already. Figure that out. All right, so we have 63 squared again. We have 3,969 equals. Okay, so I'm going to do this a little bit quicker. So I have 59 squared, and I can go ahead and add 70 squared because, oops, notice my calculator, I forgot to leave the exponent. Plus 70 squared, so make sure you leave the exponent when you do that. So otherwise that's going to give you a funky answer. So I can add these two together. And then I'm going to have to say minus, I can multiply these together, but I can't add these together yet after I get these 57 and 70 squared added together. I have to leave that separate from these other coefficients because they're being multiplied by cosine of B. All right, so equals, so we have 8,149 minus 2 times 57 times 70 equals, all right, so we get 7,980 cosine of B. So now we want to subtract 149 from both sides. So I need to put that one there. From this side over here. Sorry, scrunching into my triangle here. So then we're going to go 3,969 minus 8,149 equals, so we get, and I'm going to scooch this off to the side here. Darn it. Looking up too much here. So we get negative 4,180 equals 8,140 minus 8,149 cancels. Sorry, I forgot the 9 the first time we said that. And so we just bring down the 7,980 cosine of B, and we're going to divide both sides by negative 7,980. And let's see, we get divided by negative 7.80 equals. All right, so I'm going to just write a few of these down. I'm not going to write all of it. I want to leave it in the calculator, though, because I don't want to round yet. Any number divided by itself cancels, so I get cosine of B. So this is where I want to do the arc sine. So I want to do arc cosine and equals. This is where I want to round. So I want to round to a tenth. 1 is 4 smaller, so I'm going to leave it 58.4. So let's go ahead and type in 58.4. All right. I was going to say we could do the next one without filling this out, but that actually might not give us the correctly rounded number. I'm going to clear all this and then rewrite it real quick because that makes it a little faster here. So now just rewrite 57, 63, and 70. All right. So let's go ahead and start doing C. 70 squared equals A squared plus B squared minus 2 times A times B times the cosine of C. All right, so we've already done this a few times here. It'd be nice if I could keep my scratch paper because I wouldn't, if you've written this down on paper, you wouldn't necessarily need to write these down each time. We should already know what all these are squared, but right off the top of my head, since I have to clear this out, it's not the easiest thing to remember. So I have 4,900 equals, so I'm going to combine the next two, 57 squared plus 63, not 36, 63 squared equals, so I get 7,218 minus 2 times 57 times 63, 7,182 cosine C. All right, so now I'm going to subtract 7,218 from both sides. And I get, so we get 4,900 minus 7,100, 218. Gotta make sure I'm typing that in correctly. So we get negative 2,318 equals, these two cancel, they're the same number, one subtracted from the other. Negative 7,182, cosine C just drops down here. So we're going to divide by negative 7,182 on both sides. All right, so we're going to go divided by negative 7,182 equals, okay, so again, we'd want to only write down a couple of those. So instead of writing this part down, I'm just going to go ahead and go, I know it's going to be arc cosine. I'm going to hit equals. So we end up with 71.17 equals C. Now remember, this is where we want to round. I'm rounding to a tenth, so I look at this number right after the tenth. It's a 7, that's 5 or bigger. So I'm going to round this tenth up 1 point. So I'm going to go from 1 to 2. So I'm going to go 71.2. And this is actually what I wanted to see. So if I would have used, I'm going to go ahead and clear this out real quick and close the pen. So if I would have used the triangle angle sum theorem, which is what I was kind of thinking of using, and I know that the triangles have to add up to 180, and I subtract 50.4 minus 58.4, 4, I get 71.2. So that actually would have worked with the rounding. I wonder if it will continue to work. So we can actually test that out and see in the next one. We just might lose a point if the rounding is not 100% correct, but it should work out correctly. All right, so let's go ahead and look at our next one here. So we have angle A. So we get angle A this time. Oh, why didn't it turn down? 85 degrees. And then B is 9 and C is 33. So I have two sides in an angle. In order to use law of sines, I need this side. So I don't have A. That's why I have to use law of cosines. So let's go ahead and start working this out. So let's go ahead and go for A here. So we have A squared, since we don't know what A is, equals B squared, which is 9 squared, plus C, which is 33 squared, minus 2 times B times C times the cosine of, and this time we know what A is, we're going to say 85 degrees. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and start grabbing our calculator here. So, and I know 9 squared, I'm sure most of you know 9 squared is 81, but it's okay to put it in here and then go plus 33 squared, so you can just do it all in one. So you get A squared equals 1,170 minus 2 times 9 times 33. So you get 5,904 times the cosine of 85. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to click times cosine of 85. I don't want to do arcsine this time. I know what the angle is. Equals. So I don't want to round this number. So I'm going to leave it in there. And I'm going to say, let's see. I'm going to go times -1 because I want to turn it negative. I want that to be negative because there's a negative in front of there. And then we'll plus 1170 equals, okay. So I get A squared equals 1118. And again, I don't want to round yet. Okay, so I wrote the whole thing down. I'm going to take the square root of both sides. So this is already highlighted. If I hit the square root button, it automatically puts it under there. And sometimes the square root button does have a 2 there. Like this cube root has a 3. If it doesn't have a 2, it's automatically assumed that means square root. So we're going to hit equals. So now we can round, and it says round to the nearest tenth. So we're going to go to this point. So 33.4, we look at the next three. If it's 4 or smaller, then we leave it 33.4. All right, so that is A. So we have 33.4. Okay. So let's go ahead and I'm going to just clear this out. It makes it a little faster that way, like I said before. Okay. So we can just fill this right back in because there's not too much information they're giving us anyway. So we do have A now, but we want to ignore that in our calculations. You never want to use something that you rounded because Alex may not recognize the rounded answer, even though you might have done all your calculations correctly. So only do things that they gave you or that have a very definite, exact answer. All right, so let's go ahead and find, doesn't matter which one we do first, so let's go ahead and find angle B. So we're going to start with B squared, so 9 squared equals, and they must be okay with us using the rounded one here. So we're going to go ahead and give it a try because we need A squared there. I really don't like using ones like that, but we just don't really have too much of a choice here. So 33 squared minus 2 times A, whoops. Paying too much attention to reading my formula over there. 33.4 times 33. It's a really ugly 3. Don't know what happened there. Cosine of B. Okay. So now we have 81 equals, well, let's go ahead and go to our calculator here. Let's see, we have 33.4 squared plus 33 squared equals, so we get 2,204.56 minus 2 times 33.3 times 33 equals 2,204.4 cosine of B. All right, so now we're going to subtract 2,204.56 from both sides. I'm running out of room. All right. So we're going to go 81 minus 2,204.56 equals negative 2,123.56 equals, when these cancel, all that comes down is the negative 2,204.4 cosine of B. And we're going to divide by that negative 2,204.4 to get cosine of B all by itself. All right, so these will cancel, so we'll have cosine of B equals, and that'll be whatever this gives us here. So we already have this one in, and we're going to divide by negative 2,204.4 equals, all right, so here's our decimal. So instead of writing this whole thing down, I'm just going to go arc cosine, because I don't have the angle this time, equals. So now this is what we want to put in here. So I want to round to a tenth, because this number right after the tenth is 5 or bigger. I'm going to round this tenth up, which is a 5, to a 6. So this is angle B, and it's 15.6. So now, if I have 15.6, I'm going to use, and sorry, there's too much writing on here, so I'm going to clear this out. I'm going to go ahead and use the triangle sum theorem and say they have to add up to 180 degrees here. So I'm going to subtract angle A, which they gave me was 85, and then we just found angle B to be 15.6. So let's go ahead and hit equals. So that means we should have angle C at 79.4. So let's see if they'll take that. And they do, so we're good to go. All right, let's do the next one here. Okay, so we have 24 for A, and 46 for B, and 58 for C. So now we're not given any angles this time, so we just have to start plugging these in. So let's go ahead and go for A. So we have 24 squared equals B squared is 46 plus C squared is 58 minus 2 times B times C times the cosine of A. All right, so let's do a couple of calculations here kind of all at once. So I'm going to my calculator over here so we can see it. So I'm going to go 24 squared equals, and then I'm going to subtract 46 squared, and then I'm also going to subtract 58 squared because I'm ultimately going to move both of these over to this side anyway. So I'm just doing this all in one step. And if that is confusing, if you don't like, because I squared them and then subtracted them all in one step. If you don't like that one step, go back and do it the way I was doing it on the other two, where you kind of separate them out. I'm just making that a little quicker. So there's one less step to write down there. All right, so we have minus 5,336. And I didn't put a -2 in here when I multiplied. That's why this didn't come out by a negative. So I just have to keep that in mind. If I don't put my negative in my calculator, I have to make sure I leave the negative down here. So I'm going to divide by the negative 5,336. So divided by negative 5,336 equals, oh, darn it. I didn't have the right number in there. It's supposed to be -4904 divided by -5336. There we go. Okay, so this is the number we wanted. And then remember, because we don't have the angle, I'm gonna, instead of writing this number out, I'm gonna go ahead and hit arc cosine, because this is what we want for angles A. So I want to round to a 10th. So look, 1 is definitely 4 or smaller. So I'm gonna leave angle A at 23.2. Okay, so let's do this one more time here. I'm gonna close my calculator down. Move over, pen. Okay, so let's rewrite these. So we have 24. Oh, don't know why that got big again. 24, 46, and 58. Okay, so let's go ahead and do B. So we have 46 squared equals A squared plus, and that's 24. I don't know why I keep writing a 9 like that, or my 4 like that. It looks like a 9. Minus 2 times A. Darn it. For some reason, it wants to snap to that 9. And C, which is 58, times cosine of B. Okay, so I'm going to again do that funny calculator thing where I'm going to clear that out, and then I'm going to go 46 squared minus, whoops, to make sure I leave the square there, minus, what is it doing? Minus 24 squared minus 58 squared. Why is it doing that? It undid some of my stuff. Okay, so I'm taking the 46 that's on the left side and I'm subtracting 24 over to the left side and the 58 over the left side all in one step while squaring. So I end up with negative 1,824 minus, and I'm going to put this in now. So if I wanted to have the negative number on there, I have to make sure I hit -2 times 24 times 58 equals, okay, so I have equals negative 232. That doesn't look right. Hold on. I think something got typed in wrong. 24 times 58. There we go. That looks better. Let's get rid of this. So we have 2,784 cosine B. We're going to divide by negative 2,784 on both sides. So let's go over here. I have to clear this out and I have to retype it in negative 1,820 2724 divided by negative 2784. All right, so now we have a positive, and now I'm going to take our cosine. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit that button and then hit equals, because this is what we want to focus on here. So we want to round to a tenth. I look at the 6. Since the 6 is 5 or bigger, it rounds this 1 up, or the 0 up, to a 1. So my B is actually going to be 49.1. So let's go ahead and use the law of sines real quick, just to see. So I'm going to go clear 180, and I'm going to clear all this and close the pen so I can scooch this over here. So I have 180 minus, I'm going to subtract the angles I have right now, 23.2 minus 49.1, and that gives me 107.7. So let's see if it takes that one. It did. All right, we finished that one. That was definitely a long one. Good job.